Welcome to Egg
and Bean
Podcast. I'm Sunny.
And I'm Nathan.
And welcome to our podcast where we talk about the growing pains in life.
And then we bandage it up and transport.
That's right. Well, we got a scary topic for you guys today. We're talking about our fears.
Ooh.
So, Nate, what is the most ridiculous or irrational fear you've ever heard of?
I was watching a TikTok video where...
On the toilet?
On the toilet, always. That's me time. That's why. So there's people that have fear of a duck watching them.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know what it's called.
Okay.
I don't know what it's called.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because I didn't tell you about this, but I prepared a list of some of the most interesting phobias that people have.
Okay.
But part of this challenge is going to be trying to pronounce these words because they are a little tough.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. So we're going to start off with an interesting one. It is papaphobia. What do you think that is?
Papaphobia.
Papaphobia.
Fear of dads?
Close. It's the fear of the Pope.
Ah! He's kind of scary though.
So the little blurb under this was understandable back when he was a former Nazi, but now there is no reason to fear the Pope. Unless it's because of the weird bubble car or his giant hat. Then we're all a little scared.
Nice.
Then we have lipophobia. What do you think that is?
Oh, fear of being fat.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, I'm not scared of that.
We're gonna move on from that one. I'm gonna, contain myself from saying anything mean to Nate because Nate was being mean to me earlier.
It's not my fault. You're brittle.
You're gonna get punched after this.
It's okay.
Moving on, we have venustrophobia.
Venustrophobia?
Yes. Oh wow, you pronounce that better than I did. Venustrophobia.
What's a Venus? I have no idea.
It's fear of beautiful women.
Oh, I got that too.
It's very interesting, no? I think that's like...
Everyone has that?
What?
I don't know.
No, but this isn't like, oh, I'm scared to talk to her. This is like I'm
fear.
running for the hills.
She's gonna kill me.
Yeah. Then we have turophobia.
Turophobia.
Yeah.
Turo.
What do you think that one is?
Scared of bulls?
No. It's actually the fear of cheese.
Fear of cheese.
I have that. There's so many weird ones, no?
Yeah, that's pretty weird.
Okay, and
how are you afraid of cheese? Like, what has
I'm
it
not
ever done to you?
afraid of it. I'm just my body doesn't love it.
You lack them toes, huh?
Yeah, I lack them toes. And my last one is pogonophobia.
Pogonophobia.
Yeah. Pogo.
You don't have a phobia to pogo. Pogonophobia.
It's fear of beards.
Beards?
Yeah.
Where does pogo and beards go together?
You know that maybe it's Latin. Maybe it's a Latin word I didn't know about. Here's my last bonus one, though.
Okay.
Geliophobia.
Gelio? Mm-hmm. Gelio. You expect me to know these things?
I'm trying to see where your mind's going. You know, what it conjures up when I say these types of words. Because I would not know.
Scared of this guy named Gilio? I don't know.
No, it's actually the fear of laughter.
Oh,
yeah.
Really?
Must
People
be
are scared of
it's
laughing?
a depressing life, no?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like
It's like...
he laughs and scares himself. All right. Well, I just thought it'd be a cute little intro to talk about some very interesting irrational fears that apparently exist. And I did not know that. What are you afraid of, Nate?
Me? Okay, so I'm not really scared of anything like physical. I mean, sure
What do you
I
mean
am.
physical? Like a duck.
Like a duck. Yeah, I'm not scared of ducks. But I fear dying before my parents.
That's a very valid fear.
Because I feel like no parent should go through that.
Right.
You know, they're supposed to die before their kids, you know?
Yeah.
But I know that if something ever happened to me, like my parents would not be able to handle it.
Right.
And I fear that.
Yeah. Do you feel like it's your responsibility to take care of them? So if you pass away first and they grow old, you wouldn't be able to, take care of them. Is that part of it? Because I think that's definitely
it could be like
for
a
me.
big one, especially coming from like immigrant
Yeah.
families. Like that's what's expected.
Well, because they drill in your head that they, climbed Mount Everest and, rode a mule all the way to this country and
burro.
provided everything for you. And of course, you're very grateful, so you want to give back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then another one I think would be fear of not being enough. Doing everything in your power, not being enough. That's just
so giving your 100 or even 200% and still not being enough.
Yeah. And that could be with like anything, like relationships, work, just stuff like that.
Do you have any fears that are a little bit irrational?
Irrational?
Because I'm hearing valid points. I'm hearing very, very valid 100% fair points here.
No, I don't really live my life worried about my fears, honestly. But
yeah.
What about you?
Do you want to hear my irrational ones?
Yeah.
My irrational ones. We'll
I
start
know
with
one
my
of them.
irrational. Okay. Well, I think a lot of people know about this one already, but I'm terrified of birds. Terrified of birds.
Like no joke.
Yeah,
like she'll
I will
run and scream.
I'll run the other direction, even if we're in front of thousands of people.
We were into a call one time and there was a bird in the living room and she's like, is that a bird? Yes, it is.
We were moving the patient while tears were just streaming down my face. But I put my work first. Did I not run the call?
Yeah, you did run the
I was
call.
crying the whole
patient
time.
made it.
And the patient's family was so concerned. They were more concerned for me than they were for the patient. It was ridiculous.
It was also 3 a.m.
It was, yeah. I was crying a lot. I held it together.
You did very good.
To the best of my ability. I think some of my more serious ones are, common, I feel. So one of them is the fear of failure. I think that's a very common one. I think it stems from the way I was raised, having immigrant Asian parents. We put a lot of emphasis on success, achievement, especially in education in the academic sense. And I think that, bled into other parts of my life. One of the stories that represent this from a young age was my mom sent me to art class when I was younger, right?
Oh, nice.
And you know how when you put a piece of paper and some coloring pencils or just a pencil in front of them, they'll just start scribbling, right?
Yeah.
That was not what I did. I would draw one line and I would go, no. And I would erase it. I would draw another line, erase it. I'd spend the whole hour drawing one line and erasing it. Until I had no eraser left. And when my mom came to pick me up, what do parents do? Oh, little Timmy, show me what you drew in art class today. I had nothing to show her but a pile of eraser shreds and shavings. Just a mountain of it. Yeah. And you know how when you erase, after a while, it just, it doesn't really completely erase. So you just see very faint scribbles and just a mountain of eraser shavings. It's definitely something I've worked on throughout the years, and I'm, still struggling with it sometimes. It's hard to manage on days that I'm not feeling the most confident with my decisions or what I'm doing, but, we're working on it. I think another one that might be interesting is that I'm actually really afraid of being in the public eye. And that
how does that work out for you?
That's what I'm saying is like that it sounds weird. It sounds counterintuitive given that I do make videos
You're
and
an
create
influencer.
content online. But I think putting content out online and people watching it from their homes is very different than being there physically in front of everyone. And I think over time you just start to have a sense of people are watching you, and I get paranoid. I feel paranoid. Like, what if I have like a little boogie in my nose, like when I'm out at dinner, and I'm just like, I want to like, it's uncomfortable, right? I'm human.
Somebody takes a picture of you
That's
picking
what,
your
you
nose.
know, or like not even take a picture, but they just see it, and I would just feel I feel like it's such a normal thing to do, but I don't know. And I know that people aren't watching me, like all the time. People really don't care or even notice, right? Me, but it's that like 0.1% chance that someone by chance has seen my video and sees me do something weird, because I'm really weird,
Yeah, you are.
So yeah, and I don't want to feel that way. So It's a
Really?
very weird fear. Yeah, I feel like I'm developing a little bit of social anxiety these days.
Nice.
Yeah, and I guess like fear of losing things, whether that's like physically losing like my wallet or just like losing someone or an opportunity. But I think I've definitely been
FOMO.
No, not FOMO. I'm not actually like fearful of missing. I've never actually really understood what that feels like. But more so like losing my own personal things. Right? It could be, like I said, a physical wallet or something sentimental to me. Like my biggest, So I got robbed once, right?
What? You got robbed?
Yeah. And
When did you get robbed?
it's a long story. But one time our car got broken into. They took all of our stuff.
Nice.
And I had this Yankee jacket. This might be the start of my love for jackets, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. But my dad got me a Yankee dugout jacket. It's the ones that they wear in the dugout, like in the MLB. And I've had it ever since I was a very young child. And that was stolen. And that's irreplaceable. Like, there's no way to replace that. And that is devastating to me. So losing things is a huge thing for me. And that, again, I feel bleeds into other parts of my life where losing opportunities, I feel scared to make a decision and lose the opportunity, right? But I think these days I'm really working on having a mindset of abundance instead of having that mindset of scarcity. And that, like, if I choose and make a decision and I lose a specific opportunity, that's not to say that that won't open more doors. Right? So I think those are like my major ones.
It's a lot better than mine. They're more in depth.
Well, no, but I think that it inhibits me from a lot more things.
Yeah.
Right? I think that the way you live is definitely more conducive for being more, I don't know, even just happier, having the courage to go experience more things, right? Because there's not fear holding you back.
Yeah. And I feel like I do live my life like that. Like the other day I was doing a photo shoot and something went wrong where I couldn't stay in the location to take the photos. So then I went across the street and there was like these people dancing and I wanted to have fun. And like before I would have never gone up there to dance, but I was dancing with like old ladies and like just random people. And it was like the time of my life,
Yeah. See, it's because you're not afraid of it, right? And now you created this wonderful experience for yourself.
Yeah. And it was great.
Yeah. So it's not that I did better than you. You probably live a better life in terms of not letting fear take away from your experience. I think sometimes I will let my fear take away a wonderful experience because I'm just mentally not there anymore. I'm very focused on this fear I have. And yeah, but I think it's funny that you don't have any interesting little fears like I do.
So I do have like a weird, interesting fear.
What is it?
When I was a kid, I was extremely terrified of wind.
Wind?
Wind. It was weird. Like, I don't know where it came from or how it started, but when I was a kid, I just remember looking out, and if the trees were moving back and forth because of the wind, I didn't want to go out. And it sure didn't help that my parents made me watch the movie Twister. I was terrified.
I've never seen that movie.
You've never seen that movie? It's about tornadoes.
I am assuming because it's called Twister.
And I grew up in California fearing tornadoes.
Right. Well, actually, it's quite common that people who live in California are more scared of tornadoes or things that they don't usually see. And I know people from the East Coast, in my experience, tell me that they're very scared of earthquakes because they have no idea what that's like. Yeah. But to us, we're just, it's an average Tuesday.
Like,
just a 4.0. A 4.0.
Margaret must have fell. I didn't say that.
Old Margie.
It's okay. She got a life alert.
So did you have any embarrassing stories with wind?
With the wind.
Yeah. Did you run and scream?
I remember I was playing handball one day. Like those big walls with the big round balls.
Right.
I was a beast at that.
I bet you were.
Beast. I was beating this kid, dominating him.
Dominating.
And then the wind started. Okay, hold on. I was in elementary, right? And then there was like a bunch of leaves and dust. And then out of nowhere, like it made a little swirl. And in my head, I was like, tornado. So in the middle of the game, I ran inside. People were just staring at me like, what's wrong with this guy? So,
you know what I just pictured? I pictured Michael Jordan just absolutely dominating someone on the court. And then there's like a little wind tornado and he starts screaming like a little girl. That's literally what I'm picturing.
And I freaked out because it picked up this little girl's lunch pack. And I was like, this is it. I'm gone.
It's going to sweep me away. I'm going to forever be.
I was a heavy kid too. It's not going to take me anywhere.
Clearly didn't understand the fundamentals of physics yet at that point. That's actually hilarious. I did not know that about you.
So I was scared of wind.
Yeah, I can't laugh at you though. I'm in no place to laugh because I've done some horrible, weird things because of my fear of birds. There was this one time where I was at the beach with my friends and, the girls were going to take some photos at the beach next to the waves, right? And so they had gone off to take photos and I walked back. When you use the beach, you lay your stuff down, right? And we had we've gotten Starbucks and a few snacks for the beach. So we had laid everything nice and, patted everything down, put our snacks on top and we had left, right? But I went back because I wanted to grab something. Don't remember what I was trying to grab. But I'm walking back towards where we had laid down our blankets. And you guessed it. What happens when you're at a beach and there's food? There were seagulls everywhere. Just all over my towels, right? And I'm flipping out, right? And so I don't know what to do because then they see me and they start flying. And you don't know what direction they're flying. And that's my biggest nightmare is when they start flying. Honestly, when they're just standing, perched, you're not moving. So I can move in the opposite direction. But if you start flying, then I don't know where you're going. And so it started flying. There was, 12 of them just flying in all different directions. And in my head, they're all flying towards me, right?
Yeah.
So
they're in attack mode.
I went blank in the head. I just book it. So I started running straight into a tent.
Wait, you didn't have a tent?
Yeah. It was somebody else's tent. I dove headfirst into this tent. It wasn't my tent. And there was a couple sleeping in there. And I dove, volleyball dove.
Landed in between them?
Yeah. And I look at them and I woke them up because they were sleeping. So they woke up. They looked at me. And when you're asleep and you're just trying to figure out what's going on. So their eyes are just blinking at me and I'm staring at them. And I was in the middle of a scream. I was like, ah! Just staring at them. And they didn't even say anything because they're trying to process what's going on. And so I go, there's birds. I'm gonna go. And then I just walked out. And I was so embarrassed. I went back to my friends and I said, guys, can we move our towels so we're not right next to the tent that I just intruded on?
I can't believe you did that.
I dove.
And you were a Libra too, huh?
I was a libero. I played volleyball. Yeah,
See,
I
I don't know
played
what I'm talking
volleyball.
about.
Libra.
Yeah. What are you, a Scorpio?
What are you, a Scorpio? What's your moon sign? What's your rising?
Yeah, I'm a...
He goes, you were a Libra too, huh?
Lucha Libra.
But yeah, I dove into a couple's tent. Let's just say I was glad they weren't doing other things.
Nice. Yeah, they were sleeping.
I honestly don't know. I was just so scared. Yeah. There was this other time I was driving to work, actually.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's crazy how all logic just leaves your head.
It leaves my head.
When you fear.
So I was driving to work, which is about an hour drive.
Yeah.
And I'm driving on the freeway, right? You know, listening to my Stephanie Sue podcast, blah, blah, blah. And I'm hearing this, like, chirping sound. Like, it's like
A baby bird.
it's like a wee, 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 wee sound, right? And I'm like, okay, that's a little weird, right? It sounds like it's coming from inside this car, but I might be hallucinating. So I turned down the podcast, right? Because maybe it's the podcast. Now I can hear even louder, and it sounds like it's coming from my backpack, right? And I'm a little confused, right? Because, you know, there shouldn't be anything in my backpack. I bring my backpack directly from my car to, you know,
there shouldn't
the
be
house,
no birds in there.
And I, you know, put my stuff in, I pack my lunch, and I bring it back to my car. I never leave it outside or anything. Mm-hmm. But I keep hearing it. It's like, wee, 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 right? And so I'm staring at it. I'm staring at my backpack. I'm not even looking at the road, honestly, at this point. I'm like looking at this backpack. I'm like looking back and forth. And I'm convinced that there is a bird. So then I go into panic mode, right? Because at first I was being a little bit
in the
logical.
middle of the freeway, too.
Yeah. Like I'm be a little bit logical, trying to be logical. I'm like, there's no reason it should be there. But once I was convinced it was in there, panic mode, because now I go, okay, now what do I do? So do I open it and check on the freeway? Do I pull over? What if I pull over and, oh my God, like someone crashes into me? Or what if I open the bag and the bird comes out while I'm driving and I crash into everybody, right? And then my mind cleared. I was like, wait, let me roll up my windows just to check it real quick. I rolled up my windows, and you know when it's not fully closed and it makes the sound? It wasn't fully closed. It was my window whistling the whole time, and I was convinced that there was a bird, and I was ready to risk it all to pull over on the freeway.
You were ready to die.
I was ready to die because of this fear of mine.
Nice.
Yeah, it's bad.
I can't imagine being that afraid of birds.
I will literally cry. I think people don't believe me, so they will show me a picture of a bird and I will start crying.
Yeah, I remember I did that to you. I sent you a TikTok and you got mad.
I got very mad at you.
I think it was a seagull too.
Yeah. You know, like those science textbooks in like elementary school?
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of birds, especially during the wildlife chapter. I would go in and post-it notes on it real quick. So then when I read the textbook and did my homework, I wouldn't have to look at it. Yeah.
Why are you so afraid of birds?
You know, I'm not completely sure, but this is my theory, right? So I'm going to sound so crazy.
You already do.
No. Okay. So when I was in 5th grade, we moved, right? And I didn't want to move. We moved halfway through the school year too.
Sucks.
I think we only had maybe 3 months left.
Okay.
And so we moved. And when you're in 5th grade, that is life changing. That is life altering. That's your entire life is at school. Those are your friends, right? And you know, you're a little dramatic when you're in 5th grade. And so I was very upset about moving. And I cried every night leading up to my first day of class at my new school.
That's so sad.
Yeah, I was really dramatic about it. And I literally would write in my diary, I would go, my school's name, right? My new school's name. I would write it and I would go, sucks.
You were a rebel.
But then I was scared that my mom would read it. So I found a genius pen. I wrote it backwards.
Oh, yeah. You're a criminal.
I know. I wrote it backwards. She'd never know, And I was just very upset about the whole situation. And on my first day, right, of school, I wake up. I'm very upset. I'm trudging down my upstairs walkway towards the stairs. And at the very end of the stairs, before you turn to go down the stairs, there's a huge window, right? And the window has a little windowsill outside of it to put little plants, but we don't have any plants there. It's just a windowsill, right? Yeah. And I'm not looking up because I'm upset. I'm a dramatic fifth grader, so I'm looking at, imagine like the fist down, like trudging down, looking at the floor. That was me. So
like basically how you look now when you're mad.
Yeah, basically. I haven't changed at all. But I was trudging down, right? And I get to the stairs and I'm like, oh, I have to go downstairs and go eat breakfast. I have to go to my new school I don't want to go to, right?
Sucks.
And I look up and there was a giant hawk just sitting on that perch. And I'm in fifth grade, so I'm pretty small, Yeah. And it was this big.
That's a big bird.
That's a big bird. It's a big bird. And
big bird.
And it the way that I had turned, I was so close to it. Like the only thing that was in between us was the window,
it's
right?
Like a jump scare.
But yeah, it was a jump scare. Like literally jump scare, and it was like right here. And it was giving me the bombastic side eye. Like it wasn't even looking straight at me. Like it was giving me like a side eye, right? And I'm not really scared thinking about it. But I'm picturing it now. And so I'm looking at this thing and I just started screaming and I fall on my butt. Like I just like fell and started screaming. And I don't know, I guess I eventually pulled myself together and went downstairs and ate my breakfast or whatever. And I went to school. And my new school's mascot is the Hawks. And so I'm, at this point, I'm not terrified of birds, right? It's just like the introductionary phase, right? But you know how the more you avoid something, especially at a young age, the more you kind of create this fear, right? And so I had just transferred at the time that they were doing the state project. So everybody was assigned a state, but of course, everybody chose the cool states. And so I was left, no offense to people who live in Wisconsin, but I was given Wisconsin because that was the last one left. Because everybody already chose it before I transferred.
State of cheese?
Yeah, I hate cheese. So for the state project, we of course had to draw the state and blah, blah, blah. But then we had to draw what? The state bird, okay? So then we all go to computer lab one day. We're on the little computers and we go, okay, guys, we're going to work on our little state project today. And so I type in red robin because that's the state bird of Wisconsin. Yum. No. No. And so I basically, type that in, Google it, and Google Images gives you just a row and rows and rows and rows of red robin in front of me.
Red robins are so beautiful.
And that was my second jump scare. And then over time, I just got more and more scared of it. Yeah. I think that's my theory. I think it was just associations of bad things. I was just associating birds with bad things over and over and over again, And then ultimately I have developed this irrational fear. And yeah.
I'm getting a cramp.
Okay, we'll take a break. Nate needs to readjust because he's been trying.
I'm trying to stretch my leg out. These beanbags on.
We'll be right back. And we're back. Did you have a nice stretch?
I have a fear of cramps now.
We're just developing fears in this episode. It's not really helping, is it?
No.
So how does fear affect your daily life and the way you make decisions?
Honestly, when I'm making decisions, fear is not something that crosses my mind. I don't really, I have goals and aspirations and I know where I want to be in life, but I don't have an expectation of how my day is going to be. So I kind of just live life to the fullest,
I like that. I think the expectations you place on yourself or how you want the day to go can set yourself up for failure.
Yeah.
you know, because of course it's good to set goals, right? For example, today I want to do this, this, and this, but also have compassion for when, you know, ultimately, it doesn't go that way. Like things come up, right? And it's okay. I think that's really cool to me because I struggle a lot with that, with setting expectations of like how my day should go and in not going that way. I think a lot of times that leads me to be very fearful of what is happening and trying to control things that I shouldn't control. And, you know, this leads to a lot of avoidance, right? So sometimes I'll avoid doing things that I'm afraid to do because I don't want to see the outcome of it. I'll put things off. And I think a lot of times that's what causes my procrastination, right? You know, I'm scared of what it's going to be, so I just put it off. You know, that phone call I have to make, right? And I'm a little scared about how that phone call is going to go. So I put it off, right? And, you know, sometimes you just suck it up. Honestly, sometimes there's no better advice to that than just suck it up and do it. Yeah. You know, I don't think that's necessarily the nicest way to say it, but, you know, maybe that's what I need to hear sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to call you sometimes and be...
Suck it up.
Yeah. Nate, can you just tell me to suck it up and do it?
Suck it up, Sonny.
I think fear of failure can also prevent people from not just accomplishing the things that they need to do, but also making the relationships or friendships that they want, you know? Like fear of judgment.
I don't have
Yeah,
that.
You don't have that.
I don't have that whatsoever.
Well, so what would you recommend to those people who do have that fear?
The way that I see it is, like you said earlier, people have their own lives. People are worried about their own stuff. Right. So I feel like people aren't really paying attention or concerned to what I'm doing unless I give them a reason to. Right.
Of course, if you wrong them in a really bad way, but if you're just trying to be friendly and, you know, reach out to them. I think a lot of people are afraid of rejection. That's a common one. And that
maybe I am afraid of rejection.
Are you afraid of rejection? Maybe. Are we uncovering something? Why do you feel that way?
I don't know. It's just like kind of when you go up to like a girl and you have that fear of like talking to her because you're just like, what if she says no? Yeah. But then I get over it and I do it anyways.
Yeah. Well, what's that saying? You lose 100% of the shots you don't take, right? Yeah. So you didn't have them in the first place. They weren't even a friend in the first place. Right. So what do you have to lose?
That's what I think all the time. Is like this person, I'm never going to see them again. So I could just make them laugh.
Well, what would you say to people who, you know, they try, but then they go home afterwards and they are terrified of what that person thinks about them?
That's a good question.
Right.
I've never really thought about that.
Right. Because of course we're talking about rejection, right? The first thing is, oh, I'm scared she's going to say no. Right. But what about a step further where, you know, she says no, okay, but now you're at home, and now you're thinking, what if she thinks I'm really weird? Was that?
Well, I know she thinks I'm weird.
Well, what if I said the wrong thing, and then you start going down this spiral? Like I feel like this is a very normal thought process for a lot of people, not just with girls, but with, you know, an interview, right? You go home and you go, oh, maybe I should have said that. Maybe I didn't like present myself well enough. Or what do you think? Like, do they think I'm weird? You know, I've asked that question. Haven't you? Oh, yeah, you know, you tell your friend about how it went, and then you go, what do you think? Do you think they think I'm weird? Do you think that was bad? You know?
Sometimes I do dwell on stuff that I've done. Yeah. But primarily, no, I just own up to what I do.
Right. Yeah. Just do it with your whole chest.
Just do it with my whole chest.
Just say it with your whole chest. Yeah. I think I don't know if I personally implement this very well, because I definitely do go home after an interaction and go, oh, maybe that wasn't that good. Maybe that could have gone better, you know?
I think with me, it's like I said, I don't have expectations. Right. And I look at the good things and the things that I've had, like I had fun. Right. You know? Yeah. And like, I don't know, I'm always laughing and joking around. So
yeah, I think maybe a possible solution that we could offer is, and I could implement more, is that, you know, at the end of the day, no matter whether or not you think it could have gone better or not, at least you gave it a shot. Right? If you make that the goal, just to give it a shot, then you are successful.
Yeah.
Right? But if you place the expectation to have her say yes, for example, and then that didn't happen, then you, of course, will automatically feel like you failed. But if you place the expectation as, I just tried.
Maybe that's how I put it off.
Yeah.
I think that's what happens, because I know that girl is attractive, but when I go up to talk to them, I have no intentions. I just want to talk to them.
Yeah.
I think that's what helps out.
Oh, because you're not placing any pressure on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The goal is just to talk to her.
Yeah, that's all it is.
The goal is not to get her to say yes to a date or whatever. It's just to talk to her.
It's just to talk to her and get to laugh a little bit.
Right. And maybe
once a girl laughs, it's it.
I think that's really hard. I think it's easier said than done. You know, a lot of times we can sit here and be like, oh, you know, just set your expectations in a different way. But it's just so much harder. We're all human. We're all going to go home sometimes and be a little bit upset about how things went.
Yeah.
I think one thing that I will try to do is, in the height of my emotions about something that happened, I'll just try to distract myself.
Okay.
I think sometimes at the height, when I'm feeling like the emotions and it's just nothing's going to make it go away, I'm not going to think it through. I don't know. Call a friend. Watch a movie. I don't know. Just distract myself to let the emotions subside a little bit. I'm not ignoring them. Like, I'm acknowledging that it's there, right? But continuously thinking about it is not making it better. So we're just going to like take a breather real quick, you know, and we'll revisit it in like an hour.
I just remembered of a funny story.
What's the funny story?
Have you ever had sleep paralysis? Like, you're sleeping, like your brain's like awake, but you feel like you can't move?
I've never had sleep paralysis, but I've been kind of half lucid while I'm dreaming.
That's pretty cool. Well, that didn't happen to me, okay?
Yeah,
I got sleep paralysis. It was
That's
the first
scary.
time I ever got it.
Do you get it often?
No, well, I've had it before,
Okay.
and now, like, I know what it is, so
Right.
I could, like, lucid dream right after,
Yeah.
which is so
that's
weird.
so weird.
So I'm like, But anyways.
Nick goes, oh.
That's exactly what happens.
Sorry, continue.
The first time it ever happened to me, I was terrified. I didn't know what was going on. I felt like something grabbed me and I was just there in my bed, like not being able to move. As soon as I woke up, turned the lights on, opened the Bible and read it.
I'm sorry, what did you do?
I went to the Bible and I started reading it.
You had sleep paralysis.
I didn't know what it was. I thought something was grabbing me.
And you thought it was the devil. So you woke up and grabbed the Bible and started reading it. How old were you?
I was like 11.
Oh, okay. That's a little bit more understandable, but that's half.
I was 25.
That's like a half adorable, half a little bit concerning.
Why?
Because why did you think it was the devil?
Yeah, I don't know. I was scared. Like you with the bird in your backpack.
Okay, that's fair. I am in no place to be talking. I am in no place. I probably would have opened up the Bible if I wasn't driving during that time. What?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Did you tell anybody about this?
No.
This is the first time?
It was the first time.
This is the first time we were talking about it and you're telling a bunch of people at once?
Yeah, I used to have such weird dreams. There was a reoccurring nightmare that I had of Big Bird.
Listen, we're one and the same here. I'm just saying there's a reason. Do you see where I'm getting at?
Hey, I used to like Big Bird. We were homies until he started visiting me at night. That sounds wrong, but...
You're just ruining Sesame Street for everybody here. Oh, that's... Yeah.
Big Bird is kind of scary, though.
Yeah. Is it a he? It's a he, right?
It's 2023.
Actually, it's 2023. It's non-binary. I don't know. Do you think fear impacts your relationships?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's like comes into play again where I feel like I'm not enough.
Right. Okay.
So
Yeah.
in like relationships, it could go either way where I feel like maybe I'm not doing enough to keep this person,
Right.
or it goes the other way where I'm doing too much and I scare the person away.
Right. So it's finding that balance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you think that, we discussed the fear of rejection,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then, of course, let's say you get past that and you're in a relationship. Are you more afraid of not being enough more than, the fear of being rejected? Or do you say that's about equal?
I don't know.
Yeah?
I think it's more fear of like
Not being enough?
not being enough.
Because that's more deep. That's more you.
Yeah.
Whereas fear of rejection can be a little bit surface level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I definitely would think, for me, fear of not being good enough is definitely a hard hitting one more than rejection. It sucks
because you're like constantly seeking validation. And
right.
It's like, I hate it.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
What do you do to try to balance that? That's hard.
Yeah, it's hard.
That's
I mean,
hard.
I've been better at it. Like
Yeah.
I tell myself, I'm like, hey, like it's okay. Like you're doing good. Like just take it easy.
Well, let me offer some perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Why is the focus on you trying to be good enough or, not scare them away instead of the focus on being you?
That is me.
Right? Like instead of just focusing on you being you, you're
Mm-hmm.
focused on, I want to, please this person or impress them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Is that because of your fear of, losing them?
Yeah, I'm not too sure what it is because
Yeah.
my focus, when I focus on myself, I
Right.
don't worry about anybody else.
Yeah.
But
And that's when you're most happy, no?
yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. But then when somebody else comes into play, like my focus turns to them.
Yeah.
And then like,
You lose a bit of yourself.
yeah,
Well, we might have uncovered a slight problem.
fear of commitment.
Yeah, there's that too. Commitment issues. Well, I was going to say I think the reason why there's so much fear in relationships maybe for you is probably because you are losing a bit of yourself. Right? Because I feel like that's common. I think we see that a lot in relationships where people are so focused on the person that they're dating that they lose a lot of themselves. And that's hard, on the person, like you, the person who's losing yourself. But I think it's also maybe a lot for the person you're dating too.
Mm-hmm. I
Right?
can see that.
Yeah. But let's talk about the commitment then. This is a full-on therapy session for Nathan today.
For free?
For free? Commitment. I think for me, commitment is not just relationships. I think I have a fear of commitment for a lot of things. Committing to a job, committing to school, to just anything, because once you're committed, right?
Mm-hmm.
At least for me, when I'm committed, I give 110%. Mm-hmm. So once I make that decision, I know it's going to be a huge part of my life and I'm going to put my all in it. And I'm not going to do that for things or people that don't.
Meet your expectations.
Exactly. And aren't worth it to me. Right? Because then I'll come back and regret it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like, why do you feel like you have a fear of commitment?
Fear of commitment.
Like, you don't want to commit to someone because you're afraid of losing them, so you just don't want them in the first place?
I don't know where it comes from.
Yeah.
I think it's just marriage for me. It's like a forever thing.
Yeah.
Like we don't do divorces.
Right. Yeah.
That's how I grew up.
Uh-huh.
So if I get married, it's somebody that I'm going to be with together. And I think it's just
scared of choosing the wrong person.
Yeah. I'm scared of choosing the wrong person and somebody that I'm not going to be happy with for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, how do you cope with that fear then?
Focus on myself.
Yeah.
Just focus on what I'm doing, making sure I'm being where I want to be. And I
Right.
feel like eventually it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like I'm not out there looking right now, but it'll happen.
How do you cope with your other fears? Like fear of passing away before your parents. Because that one you can't really control, you know?
You really can't.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I fear about it the most is that nothing I do can control that.
Right.
Like it could just be like a freak accident. It could be at work. It could just be at any moment.
So I actually read this study that they did on breast cancer survivors. And, you know, breast cancer, there's a chance for reoccurrence to have it again. And they, you know, surveyed them and asked them how they dealt with that fear. That's a big fear. I mean, it's a lot. A lot of them have to go through mastectomies, right? Chemo, whatever. And that's scary. I can imagine, honestly, what that is like and the amount of fear they probably have with that. But they surveyed them, asked them what they did to cope with that. And the most common and the majority of them responded that they use this thing called emotion-focused coping. So there's emotion-focused coping and there's solution-focused coping. Okay. And I think I usually go for solution-focused coping, which is I'm fearful of something. Let me try to control the situation. Let me try to fix it. Let me try to find a solution to make it better, right? To use logic. That's great for some problems that can be fixed by a solution, but something like, you know, being afraid of passing away before your parents do or breast cancer reoccurrence, you can't control that.
You cannot.
And so the emotion-focused coping is just to focus on your emotions, letting yourself feel it, right? And working through whatever works for you, right? And that looks like, you know, different for everybody. But I think the focus is on accepting your emotions instead of, you know, pushing them away or try to bury it up with solutions, right? Have you ever heard that thing where girlfriends go, I don't want you to tell me a fix or solution to my problem. I just want you to listen. Right? You know how when people are venting to your friend, like when I vent to you sometimes, right? I just want you to say, hey, it's okay, or like it's okay to feel that way instead of offering me a solution. So I think that's similar to kind of what they were doing, you know, is to just like focus on how they're feeling, how you're feeling, instead of trying to stick your hands in it and try to control everything, you know?
Well, the way that I cope with fear, it's a little bit similar. I didn't even know there was a name to it.
Yeah.
But I think of it as fear is like a buildup of energy and like emotion.
Right.
And it's your body's reaction to like past experiences.
Right.
So I just think about it as in like the situation that I'm in. Am I going to get injured? Am I going to get hurt? Am I going to die?
Yeah.
If the answer is no, then there's nothing.
I mean, we deal with a lot of scary and high emotion situations in our job. How did you personally deal with that at work?
So it sounds so bad, but you kind of disassociate from it.
Right.
Like you get desensitized to it. And like when you're on a call, it's different when you're at work. You have that mentality, like you have that, like you almost expect it.
Right.
But I don't know.
I think it's hard because I think different EMTs do different things, or, you know, other professions who have to deal with high intensity emotion type situations at work. And I think for me, I definitely do the disassociating for sure. But in that situation, I definitely use solution-focused coping, right? I feel like that in that situation, it's good to do that, right? This is my protocol. This is what I learned. This is what I'm doing. Like focus on my basics, focus on what I know, right? And we can worry about my feelings later.
After the call when we vent.
Yeah, because I think a lot of times fear can make you freeze up. You know, those people who have deer in headlights.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and that's fair. You know, that doesn't make you less of an EMT. It's just, it's normal, but you got to work through that because you're supposed to be helping that situation. Nobody, like, as a patient, it's probably not the best if you're not doing great and you look up at your EMT or paramedic or firefighter or whatever and they look terrified.
Yes. I remember I was training this one guy, and it was his third day on the job.
Yeah.
And we were transporting this critical patient, and she started going into cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
So it was just me, my trainee, and my nurse in the back. And he froze up like deer in the headlights, like how you said.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
It's immediate.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're trying to snap them out of it.
I had to
know?
like clap in front of his
Yeah.
face for him to snap back into it.
Yeah. And I mean, he's third day trainee. I mean, that's completely fair. I mean, he must probably be so terrified. I mean, I definitely was.
Oh, I would. Yeah.
First time driving code 3. Are you serious? You know, that's very high. It's you know, at the end of the day, we love adrenaline to a certain degree, but there's definitely an element of fear of not making the right move, not making the right decision, you know, and it's
a little different because it's also somebody's life.
Yeah. So I think,
but he did really good.
Yeah, I think fear is a very interesting thing. I think sometimes it can help us. You know, I think we're biologically wired to have fear to a certain extent because, I mean, back in the caveman days, we gotta go. We see a lion, we gotta go.
We gotta go.
You know, if we didn't have fear, then we would just sit there and let the lion eat us, right? So like
a capybara.
You know, I think to a certain extent with anxiety and fear, it was meant to protect us. But I think as we become more civilized, it's definitely kind of become more of the bane of our existence than really helping us that much. You know, so I think it's just perspective, really, at the end of the day. I don't know. I think it's really interesting to think about fear from a biological standpoint because it's there for a reason.
Yeah.
So why is it so out of control sometimes?
I have no idea.
Yeah. I guess we'll leave that question to you guys. If you guys have the answer, let us know.
I'm dying to know.
Yeah. I also really want to know about the sleep paralysis thing. I might read up on it a little bit later because I've never experienced it.
Never experienced it.
Are you afraid of sleep paralysis?
No. When it happens to me, now I know what it is.
Okay, that's good that you weren't traumatized by it.
No, yeah. No, but it's scary because you feel like something's grabbing your chest and you can't move.
Is sleep paralysis similar for everyone? Do people experience it?
I think so.
I'm gonna ask.
But it's kind of like when in your dreams, like when you can't scream or you can't run, it's like that. Like you try to scream as much as you can and you try to move as much as you can, but you can't move. And you can't scream.
So it's like you're being kidnapped.
A little frustrating, yeah.
Oh my God. I think I've definitely heard people talk about it. I think people like to talk about lucid dreaming a lot more.
It's a lot nicer.
Yeah. Lucid dreaming. Okay, so what kind of dreams are you controlling then? You said you could lucid dream after.
Yeah, so it's weird. Like I feel it and I'm like, oh, this is sleep paralysis. And I must be sleeping. And then I could fly.
And then you what?
I could fly. Or like run really fast, like in that baseball scene in Twilight.
You're aware of it, and you're like making yourself in your dream run as fast as a cheetah or something.
No, Twilight scene. You know, baseball.
Oh,
like that.
Kind of. I didn't really watch Twilight.
No, me
I
either.
watched like. What do you mean? How do you know that scene? I think dreams are super interesting because I think my dreams always tell me a little bit about what I'm fearful of. Whenever I dream, I always dream about things that I'm scared of happening. Yeah. So I think if that day I'm extremely worried about, I don't know, crashing into a car at work or something, I'll dream it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so scary.
Yeah. I'll dream it. It's a little bit rude, to be honest, because I'm terrified of it. So why would you, almost make it a reality? Yeah. And make me experience it. Not just with that, like small things too. I don't know, failing a test or, I don't know, getting cheated on back in the day when I was in high school. I remember
that was a fear for you?
I was super insecure in one of my relationships back in the day, and I had a very vivid dream of getting cheated on.
Wow. Did you hate him when you woke up?
It was terrifying. Yeah, it was. And it was super. Of course, these dreams are so detailed. Like, really detailed. I also once had a dream that there was a mass shooting and I got shot.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I didn't.
No?
I woke up as the gun went off.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, super terrifying. I once had a dream where I need to stop watching crime stuff. I had a dream once where I was tied to a chair and a serial killer was killing everyone I cared about in front of me while I was sitting on that chair. One by one, slowly. And he was like taunting me. And I was so terrified. Oh, another time I had a dream that someone made me, I don't know, some higher power being was forcing me to burn my friend alive.
Sunny, you need help. Which friend? It wasn't me, right? Pot roast.
This was in college. So I don't even remember who it was.
Must have been a really good friend.
Oh,
did they taste good?
No, I had to burn it. Listen, I don't talk about it anymore. I need to go to therapy, guys.
Well, this is it right here, Sunny.
Yeah, but my dreams tell me a lot about what I'm fearing. It's a little bit, again, rude, because why would you do that to me? But, it's very helpful sometimes in terms of, okay, yeah, I really care about that, and I can't necessarily hide that anymore. But anyways, we're nearing the end of our episode. And we usually, end with our little mental health check-in. But Nate's not feeling the bestest today.
No.
And he asked me if we could skip it. And of course, we can skip it because it's okay to not want to talk about.
It's okay to not be okay.
It's okay to not be okay. And it's okay to not want to talk about it sometimes, right? I think a lot of times we kind of almost emphasize the fact that we should talk about things, but we also want to talk about and make a point that it is okay not to. And
we're practicing setting boundaries.
Yes. And so instead of our mental health check-in, I'm going to leave us off on a quote. And the quote is, "Failure is simply feedback that gives you the opportunity to look at what's not working and figure out how to make it work."
Wow. If only people use that in their everyday lives.
Yeah. So I thought it was fitting, given I was talking a lot about failure today. And, moving into this week, we'll focus on the little wins and celebrate them instead of all the little mishaps that may have not gone the way that we wanted it to go.
Yeah. And focus on the things we can do stuff about.
Exactly. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for listening. We love you.
Love you.
Bye.